All right, so with our beautiful little Miss S, we're gonna do a little find it, get her in the groove. So for our gorgeous gal, I know you guys were struggling with a little bit of that separation anxiety. I am gonna be sending along a couple extra resources to the whole gang, like I mentioned prior. So, but I'm just gonna warm her up with a couple little find its with orientation back to me. Sophie, yes, nice job. So with this gorgeous gal, I know some of her snacks are higher value than others, which is fine. Ready, Sophie? Yes, great name recognition right there. So I know for like loose leash walking at times, she is a little bit of a wild woman. So she got a lot of great energy. So I find what can be really beneficial is to get some energy expending first and then see if you can go into working that loose leash walking once again. If the environment is soft enough where she could be more focused, you could definitely show her the item, see if you can try a little bit within, let's say, your home front or your hall, and then capture all these little moments where she'd be next to you. If you find it's, oops, sorry, cuteness. She's like, she's a ninja. She comes out of nowhere. So if your babe, for example, you try to, like, take you down, like you've said before with mom, is if your babe tends to be a little bit all over the place and in your legs, she says, no, not that snack. I would highly recommend sometimes a target item like a spatula or ladle. So I might go grab one in a second because of course I forgot to put it out here while we were going to maybe try it. Is if your babe tends to be under feet, not saying she has to wear a bell, though I know for cats and dogs that are little, it can be helpful, but it's a little annoying for them at times. So I would recommend if she tends to be a little bit of a wild lady going all in between your legs, see if you can start to capture the moments where she's by your side and feed those moments. She is quite the ninja though, and she did do a great job going right behind my foot, but I just didn't want to step on her. Thankfully, I think I barely got her fluff, you wild lady. So other options would be, again, like I mentioned, doing a little bit of play. I'm going to see if she's maybe interested in doing a little bit with some of her flirt pole play. And then going from that, I'm just going to toss a few snacks for the other handsome guy, is I want to see if we can go from doing some play into some loose leash walking and see if that works well. So obviously with our little lady, getting her up and running will be a great venue for expending some of these normal doggy behaviors into an outlet we'd prefer. So she is a very agile girl. So playing with a flirt pole might be another great way to build up some of this great practice with you guys. And I know today we did a little bit of play with Mr. W earlier too. Great job, sir. Oh, I'm so used to talking about Mr. W. All of them are boys except for Miss S. So I've lost my marbles today. Ready? We'll do a little find it. So if you're having moments where she's like, none of these crunchies are her favorites right now. She prefers the squishier friends. Nice job, cuteness. We'll do another little find it with a better one. She says, that one's acceptable. So when working with your beauty, if let's say warming up prior to the event is helpful, I would highly recommend a bit of play. Could be a great venue for getting some of this energy out and then building it into the behavior you'd rather have down the road. Where'd you go, you wild woman? Right behind me. She's like, no one's going to see me there. So we'll see if we can get her up and wiggling. If this one doesn't have as much value, so I have different flirt pole attachments. So this one, for example, is like the nylon one it came with originally. Then I have some others where this one is the sheepskin, which for most of the pups, this has a lot more value because it's technically the animal hide. So you can, again, use whatever toy or option you prefer. So we're going to go ready, find it. And of course, our other little guy, Mr. T, says, I want to come back out and do more fun exploration because he was just out here a few moments ago too. And he was doing some very nice practice with the novelty items on the floor and for, sights and sounds and textures. So right now, Miss S is doing a great job chasing the critter. So this one has a lot more value than the other nylon product. Excuse me. So with her going and practicing a little bit of this play, we may find that then we can expend some of that energy so she's not doing those laps around you quite as often. So this doesn't mean she can't go and practice on the long line like she's been working at the home front. But this could be another great way to add some of this play to that longer lead and then practice from excitement going back into focus on you guys. So again, we might get her up and wiggling. Ready? Go. Oh, she says, I like that snack now. It's delicious. What a good job. So Mr. W says, I'd also like to come back out and wrestle. So we'll have her up and wiggling. Nice. So remember, even with play, we want to keep it attainable. So I don't want to make this play so dramatic and so difficult. Nice job, cutie, that she can't go ahead and catch the thing. So we were discussing that a little bit. Nice job last week too. She's like, these freeze-dried snacks are for the win. I think there's like salmon or fish ones and then some chicken maybe. So again, we're gonna see if we can get her up and going. You ready? Go get it. She's like, and I'm already tired. If there's moments where your puppy only plays for a few moments, let them just take a break. So maybe she's already pooped out. She says she'd maybe like some more food. What do you think, cutie? Or you want to play one more little lap? She says, maybe. Nope, she pooped out. So if you're finding there's only so much oomph in certain games, you know, don't always have them go until the babes just want to give up. So if we're finding, you know, play can maybe last a good 5-10 minutes, maybe sometimes 3 minutes, maybe sometimes 7. But if every time we always go to the very end of the setup, we might always go to the point where it becomes almost like boot camp for playtime. And I don't want it to turn into like where it's a chore to try to play. Ready? So we'll do a little bit where she's by the leg. I might actually go quickly grab that spatula that I had mentioned. And I know I'm going to be out of camera shot for just a second, but I want to see if we can try a little bit with the target, and then I'll be right back over there. So for a lot of babes, sometimes having a target like this could be another venue, because if, let's say, and I know I'm coming right back, I'm so sorry. So if, let's say, you have a shorter puppy, or even maybe, let's say, hunching over is uncomfortable for you, she is still so little, but you may find like having the target could be another great way to hone her in. So now this is just a little bit of some squashed on snacks. You could do peanut butter. You could do, for example, cream cheese, canned dog food. But now this way I'm not hunching quite as much. I would, again, have the ladle down so she could hone in on it. If, let's say, this was going really well and she's doing a few licks, you could then bring the spatula or ladle back up towards you, take a few steps together, and then offer it again for the puppy. So right here, we might see if she can do another little lick, and then we'll go ahead and keep walking. And she's now searching for all the crumbs she missed earlier. So we could, again, meander. The moment she comes back into my side, feed here. Nice. Are you over it? She's like, full. You're so tired. So she did get to do a lot of good play with her BFF, Mr. W. So she could be by, come the end of the session, be a little bit fatigued. But we'll see if we can go back into working then with a little bit of some of her snacks. Ready? She may be more food driven versus the lick. Yes. But you guys may want to test drive that concept. Obviously, that one's a bit of a shorter handle for how short she is. You may find attaching like a ruler, or maybe you have a longer, like sort of stick, so like what's it called? No, it's escaped me. A dowel, there we go. So you could use a dowel and attach, let's say, a spatula to it, or a ladle, or something similar. And you could then have her have a target stick that's easy for you to move around. So right here, yes. So there's that positive interrupter with her doing a lovely little check back in from the environment. So now again, we're just going to meander. I'm going to feed her for all these moments of where she's honing in on me versus the environment. So if, let's say, me turning and changing the direction, I would keep an eye on her, because obviously she is right under your feet, and we want to make sure that we don't bump into her. Nice job, cutie. So right here, nice little positive interrupter to gain some attention. Yes. Feed her for that, and we'll keep her moving. What a smart girl. You ready? This is very pretty. So I'm just breaking up her little crumbs. Yes. Because, of course, she is a little lady, but even for the bigger boys, I would still also recommend, like Mr. Z, is to break up your snacks into small little tidbits, so that way you have more reps to practice. So this is really pretty with her, again, we're honing back in on me versus the environment. Yes. Good job. What a smart girl. So then I might go ahead. I'm going to send her a little bit away for a little find it. And then I might do my little recall. So, Sophie, come. Yes, what a good girl. So, but these could be great ways to kind of get her in the groove and start warming up before asking for it in a much more challenging environment, or with more things going around in the distraction's sake. So right there, I'd love a little find it. Sophie, come. Nice. Her recalls have definitely gotten really, really pretty. I know right now this is like a classroom setting where it's more of a vacuum sort of setup. But remember, if they can't quite manage to do it in a softer, oh, it got stuck on my finger. You could also try throwing it and it goes nowhere. But if you're trying to work this in let's say a more challenging environment, try the softer venue first and then make sure they understand the concept and then throw in more novelty or distractions. Ready? Sophie, come. That was very pretty. Good job. Nice work. So again, we'll do another little find it. Ready? Find it. Nice. And then Sophie, come. So let's say your puppy can do an amazing, let's say, 15 to 20 recalls. I wouldn't always do 15 to 20. Like I mentioned before, try to refrain from turning everything into like a boot camp situation. So if let's say your puppy is doing really well with like 15, maybe one day you call them for 7, other times maybe 3 recalls, and then you call it a day. We also want to make sure, again, like we've mentioned prior, is be careful that your recalls don't become the end of the game or the end of fun or pair with something scary. So this is really pretty. So if like, let's say for example, you were wanting them to come back into the house because we're all done playing, the problem with then doing a recall for that is then your puppy starts to realize every time you've called them, we've finished playing outdoors, and then they may not want to come the next time you call. So ready? Sophie. She's like, hold on, I'm chewing. Come. Yeah. Yes. Nice job. She's doing a really pretty job. So let's say maybe we're going to try a little bit with stay. I'm going to see if I can do it though without necessarily using her bed. Maybe I could try the cot, but I know it's ginormous compared to her. Her bed is just hanging out in her little zone, but I didn't remember to grab it. So we'll try a little bit with this novel thing. So this again, just a novel scenario. Maybe she would be a little bit weirded out by this cot. So again, throwing in novelty here and there throughout your practice, like we mentioned for Mr. T, is a great way to keep building on this resilience or feeling safe. If though this is too challenging and she thinks this is really creepy, I might actually flip the bed the other way around so it's not like a hammock or a feeling of, let's say, sinking. So we'll see if she feels comfortable. I'm not going to force it. If she's a little bit unsure, she can take her sweet time with it. But I just want to see if she might potentially want to give it a shot. What do you think, cutie? She's like, I'm thinking about perhaps putting a toe on there. Good job. So again, we're just letting her go at her rate. Nice job, cutie. Yes. So then again, she's just, see how the back end, like I mentioned with Mr. T, she's still like, creepy. So if this was too spooky, I wouldn't do it like this. If this was really overwhelming, I would start off with the item on the floor, flipped upside down, and see how she feels. Right now, I'm just trying to see if she'd be able to manage this. If it's a little bit too challenging, we might make it easier. So I'm just going to feed her for being on the edge and near the item. Nice. But you notice how I'm not pulling her onto it, just plopping her on there. I want to make sure she still has some agency where there we go, where she can feel it's comfortable to try hopping on and off. So sometimes this, again, novelty is great for even adolescents going into their young adulthood time, because if they are not as comfortable trying something brand new, this is where novelty down the road becomes really challenging, because novelty can then start to be anxiety-ridden or frustrating or too exciting. So this could be another great way to build in some of this novel, but without having it be so challenging she can't manage it. This is really nice. Good job, cutie. So right now, of course, she's picking and choosing the snacks she'd prefer. Good job. So, but let's say that's going kind of nice. We might go, ready? Sophie, ready? We can try kind of luring her. If this was too scary, nice, good job. I wouldn't force the situation, but if let's say she's feeling a little bit more comfortable, we might see if she wants to hop up there like she did earlier and see how she's feeling. She's doing a really nice job for this novel, brand new cot. Yes, good job. So while she's on there, I might even go ahead and lower again a few more of the snacks she really enjoys while on this novel target. Because I know she's got her really cute little dog bed too. And I could always, for example, next time, plop her dog bed on top of the raised bed as well. So it's almost bringing a little bit more familiar item to something novel, and see if that helps boost some comfort. Nice job, cutie. That wasn't too shabby. So we might try again with a little find it on the item and see if she can go ahead and try it once more. She's like, this is really too much work. What do you think? But notice how, again, we're still getting a nice soft body language. If I wasn't getting more comfort out of her, I wouldn't keep asking for more and more from her. This is really pretty. Nice job, Sophie. Good job. What a smart girl. And again, all the beauties are doing a stellar job. I know for the other, well, 2 of the boys out of the 3 and Miss S, this is day number 2 for them. And Mr. T, this was his first day. And he did really nice for his very first day too. Gorgeous. But look at how we're getting a little bit more comfort jumping onto this novel cot. And she's a little bit more resilient with her body language too, hopping on there. Nice job, cutie. So I'm not going to ask her to do a stay on this because I think it's a little too challenging of a novel spot. We could, for example, ask for stays in other spots, like let's say right on the floor. So I'm just going to drop the items on the ground. If she wants to go gobble them up, she can. If someone else wants to eat them, that's also an option. So let's say for now we take a little break from that bed because it's not her typical spot. And we're just going to try a little bit with some sits and see if we can get a little stay from her. So right here, I'm going to tell her to stay, and I'm not going to add tons of distance. I just want to work the time frame for right now. This is beautiful. Nice. What a smart girl. So again, we're feeding throughout the duration of the stay. And when I want to end the stay, remember we want to start off first with maybe our time frame because that's the easiest. And then we'd go into working maybe distance and distractions. So right here, I'm going to feed her last little crumb. I'm going to say all done. And then I'm going to get her up and wiggling, but no food is given for breaking from the stay. So we're going to try it again so everybody can see her a little bit better. I might put her a little bit closer. I'm just going to see if I can find one of your more favorite snacks. She says those other ones are awful. Ready? No offense, you know, it's her usual kibble and stuff, but she says I really like the other ones better because this is harder work. So we're going to tell her to again stay. Actually, hopefully you threw something. I'm going to again feed a couple little rapid fire snacks. As she becomes more mature with this game, you're not going to be feeding every few seconds. But notice how now she's a little bit more distracted. I'm going to regain her attention, reset her up, and tell her once more to stay. I'm going to see if I can keep her interest a little bit longer by being a little bit quicker with my reinforcement. So right now, faster little reps is probably going to be helpful to keep this lovely lady stationary when being stationary may seem like the silliest thing ever. Gorgeous. Then we might say, all done, and we might wiggle our fingers. She's like, I guess so. And we get up and we break. So you can, again, choose whatever makes sense to you guys. I know we discussed sometimes having a release word. So normally I would do all done. Other folks might prefer release, free time, all set. So make sure to keep it just consistent in the household. And if, of course, I'm using the wrong slogan for her, just let me know. She's like, I'm slightly intrigued. So maybe we'll do a little bit again with one more little sit stationary stay. So we'll do a little sit. Yes, I'm going to feed her for that because sometimes, again, responding can be a little bit more challenging. So I want to make sure that every little skill, she gets a reinforcement for now. I'm going to tell her to stay. And I'm going to feed her, again, a couple little tidbits for holding this sit stay. She's doing a great job. Yes. Nice. And then we'll feed again. Beautiful. So again, once she's done eating her last tidbit from the stay, oh, itchy bum, but we'd go all done. You can do a hand signal like I do, kind of finish like this. Other people might touch. If you're going to touch the puppy, just make sure the puppy actually enjoys the touching. Some dogs are not huge fans of like pats on the head or little bonks on the chest. So make sure that whatever you're using for your babe, it's reinforcing them from their perspective as well, and not just from our perspective, thinking a pat is reinforcing enough. Nice job, great check-in. So we'll give little Miss S a breather from some of these skills, and we'll work a few other skills in just a second. Oh my goodness, I know, so exciting.